Pitching deals. Let's start with number one, buyer capacity. One of the biggest mistakes that I see real estate agents make at any level is that they don't have enough of a buyer capacity in order to achieve the goals they're looking to achieve. Buyer capacity is when you go and look at all of your buyers, your VIP buyers, people you speak to on a very regular basis. And you know that if you send them a deal that is in their criteria, you would be able to sell that deal. And many of you are watching this video and go, I don't have any of those people. Well, that's obviously going to be step number one when it comes to pitching deals, which we're going to talk about, I promise you. But buyer capacity is just a reference term, a metric that I want you to be constantly thinking about. Because if you want to increase your income, it means that you need to have a very high buyer capacity. So let me explain how this works exactly. Let's say you have a VIP list of buyers of 10 people. Okay, these are people that you have a fairly decent relationship with. I'm not saying you're best friends, but that, first name basis. You can call them regularly. You have their cell phone numbers, you've met them face to face, you know who these people are, maybe you've closed a deal with them in the past, or they're a referral from past, they're reputable people, you know that they own a lot of real estate, and they each, let's just say, of the 10 people, each of them have a $10 million per year capacity, which means they're buying possibly maybe a few deals a year that adds up to roughly $10 million annually. Maybe they do 2 or 3 deals each. Let's just say all of them buy roughly $10 million a year each. It's 10 people, $10 million bucks. That's $100 million in buyer capacity. You're not going to get every single deal for them, right? They probably have a lot of friends who are brokers. They're doing their own prospecting. They're trying to find great deals on their own as well. That being said, you can probably capture 10 to 20% especially if you're doing your prospecting and you're sending them a lot of deals and you're trying to make this relationship work by providing them value, finding deals, right? Like that's what we do. That's how we provide them value. Here's the thing. If you can provide 20% of that value, which means if their capacity is $100 million, you can provide them with $20 million worth of product, they're probably going to acquire $20 million a year from you, right? It's a very regular thing. We do this very regularly with a number of buyers. I mean, like between all the teams, right? We have well over 100 VIPs that we work with on a very regular basis. Now, we haven't closed a deal with every single one of them. Probably closed a deal with about 30% of those people, right? But we know that the other 70 or 80 of those people, right, are very primed and ready to go when it comes to deals. This is exactly what I meant by we typically do business about 30 of them, right? 30%. I know you can probably do 10 or 20%. So if you have $100 million in buyer capacity, you can probably provide value for roughly 20% of that. It means you're providing $20 million worth of fantastic deals these individuals can acquire every year. Obviously, that doesn't mean that you're going to do a deal with every single one of those people, but that's the capacity reference. If you do $20 million at a 5% commission, that is $1 million a year. Now, what's interesting about buyer capacity is that some people get this, gotta say, convoluted, okay? A lot of people that I speak to, they're like, oh, well, I'm just gonna, work with Blackstone or these huge funds that buy $300 million deals regularly. How many deals close at roughly $300 million a year? Because you can find deals between $1 million and $10 million very regularly that are actually very lucrative deals that you can sell like clockwork, okay? You can do a deal 2 or 3 every single month. There's that much opportunity out in the marketplace in that price range. Anywhere in the country, in obviously some areas you might have to you might have to do $1 million to $5 million because there might not be a bunch of huge price point deals. But my point is, anywhere in the country I've seen this works. So if you find these 10 investors and their buyer capacity is $100 million and they're buying deals between $1 million and $10 million bucks, you have the ability to do a lot of business. Now you understand buyer capacity. Let's quickly talk about how to vet those buyers. Specifically, it's all going to be about past references. How many properties do you own currently? How many properties have you bought this year, the last 12 months, last 24 months? What kind of properties have you bought recently? When was the last acquisition? You're gonna have somebody who are like, oh yeah, well we own 2 properties. Our last acquisition was 6 years ago, but we're looking to buy $10 million this year. You're probably not gonna buy $10 million this year if you haven't bought anything in the last 12 to 24 months, let alone in 2020, 2021. Why didn't you buy anything then? Right? That's when everybody was buying. The past will predict the future. Look, we don't do this on the very first phone call. I'm not telling you to have this on the very first phone call, but I am saying that if you want to do a high level of volume with any buyer, you need to ask these very very important questions. Where is your portfolio right now? What properties do you own and what areas do you own in? I have people all the time like any good deal. How many times have you guys heard this? I'll buy any good deal. Okay, well, number one, well, what's a good deal? What have you bought in the past? We bought an 11 cap. Well, that's a really freaking good deal, and the amount of 11 caps we come across is very very slim. So we're probably not going to do a lot of business. But they go, yeah, we just bought a 6.5 cap, but we can bring it to an 8.5 cap. That was a good deal for us. It's in a location that we can make sense. Oh, okay, this is actually pretty interesting. Wonderful. So let's dive into this. Where was the deal? What type of deal was it? How many units? How many square feet? Like, tell me all the the criteria of this deal so I can try to find you that deal again. Because if they bought it once, they'll buy it again. They will buy in this one area. Continue to bring them product in that area. The more specific you could get with somebody, the better the chances are you're going to close a deal with them. How to find a buyer for any property, anywhere. I'm actually going to share my screen because I think this is very, very important. What we're going to do here is that we're going to go by property type. We're going to go by industrial. We're going to hit apply. Then we're going to scroll down to more filters. We are then going to go to owner. We're then going to include a phone number, and then we're going to go to sales, and we're going to do within the last year, 378 industrial properties where they included a phone number that closed in the last 12 months. I then can hit apply. But let's just say I want to do, I grew up in an area in Monmouth County. So I go to Monmouth County as an example. You can do this for a town. So let's just say I go here. I then hit apply. So only in the town of Monmouth County, 5 properties. 5 properties have closed in the last 12 months, all right? I might have to go out a little bit. This is insanity. Okay, there you go. 17 in the last 24 months. So let's just go, let's do it on that, okay? Because clearly 5 is just way too small. I then will go to this corner and click on owners, okay? And then this is going to load, and this just shows me all the people who acquired properties in the last 12 months. And I can literally just go through these people like, oh, and guess what? A few of these people I am actually pretty close friends with. It's funny enough. I can consistently call these people, right? All these people on this list, I want to get to know, especially if I go to portfolio assess values, and I can go to these people and I'll be like, oh, interesting. I want to get to know Emmanuel more. I want to get to know Jay more. I want to get to know, Abraham better, right? I want to get to know some of these people better, right? What's interesting though is that I can then look at it as like, oh, well, this is, if I have industrial properties and I want to sell more industrial properties, clearly I'm going to call up, Emmanuel because he owns a lot more of industrial properties, right? This guy specifically buys a lot of industrial properties in this area, right? You can see that by that, but okay, well, commercial general is not industrial all the time. I can see that somebody like this here, Jay, which I don't even know if I'm going to get him on the phone because he's, part of the U.S. government, probably not. I'm going to choose maybe of the, the list of 33 people here, I'm going to try to get on the phone with at least 10 of these people. This is how I would simply do that. All you're going to do is you can literally do that anywhere in the country for any type of asset class. Let's talk about when it makes sense to meet with a buyer face-to-face. I'm a huge proponent of meeting people face-to-face. I think it's a very important thing to do. However, I don't do it all the time on purpose. Because the first thing I want to do is I want to vet them. But also at the same time, if I just know, because I see this guy owns $80 million worth of real estate, $40 million worth of real estate, I don't need to ask some of those questions, right? Because I'm like, oh, okay, just print it out. Like, look, so actually I was doing a lot of research on you. I say that you own this property, this property, this property, this property, all these types of things. So just curious, what are your goals for the next 12 to 24 months? Like, what are your goals? Because I want to understand your goals so that I can support them, right? And I can try to provide you as much value as possible. That comes off very differently than saying like, what are you going to do for me? You're going to allow me to list any of your properties? I mean, that's just a stupid way of doing business. So I want to clearly vet them as much as I can up front. And then once I know that they're a lucrative individual and I know that we could probably do some business, we start having a few conversations, sure, then I can go meet them face to face, shake their hand. It's important to meet people, but vet them first. Very important last point, how to know when a deal makes sense. A big mistake that I see real estate agents make is they don't understand how to evaluate properties properly. I would definitely take a look at all of the underwriting videos that we have on YouTube. Take a look at all of them. It's going to help you get better at underwriting. If somebody has bought properties in the past at a, let's just say, 7.5 cap. Because if it does not make money, it doesn't make sense to buy it. What I would recommend is you say things like this when you find these deals. So if I got you an offer at 180 a foot, would you be possibly open to doing a deal? Well, your building's 10,000 square feet. If I got you an offer at $1.8 million, would you be open to doing a deal? Have you declined any offers recently? Oh yeah, well, we declined an offer for $2.5 million. You declined an offer for $250 a square foot? Yeah, it just doesn't make sense for us to sell it at that price. Okay, I'm probably not going to do a deal with this person, right? Let's just call a spade a spade. One is price per square foot. That's again for retail, industrial, and office. Second basis for those asset classes specifically is cap rate, which pertains to just about everything. So if you see that the market cap rate, the average cap rate right now that's trading, right, for all the most recent sales, when you go on CoStar and you pull reports, and you see that they're on average, they're trading for a 7% cap rate, let's just say. If you bring them a 5 cap, you're like, okay, well, it's $225 a foot and it's a 5% cap rate. What do you think they're going to say to you? Probably it's overpriced. Oh, really? Got it. Okay, so then why don't we, this is why what my philosophy, my multi-lens strategy works so well, because what we do is we present a starter offer at an 8% cap rate. And I'm just making an example. If the market's 7 and $200 a foot, I'll make an offer at an 8 or a 9 cap, $150 a foot, and see what they say, because the worst thing they could say is no. But I and you probably both know that if I found a deal that's at a 9 cap at $150 a foot in a market where it's a 7 cap, a 7 cap average market and a $200 square foot average market, I'm probably going to sell it. So that's why we do this immediately. Once you know an average, it makes it much easier to do business. Now let's go over to multifamily. Quick back of the napkin. Again, this is not internal rates of return. This is not, understanding, exactly where cash on cash is right away. Like, this is not in-depth underwriting, which you should learn and do, follow along some of the YouTube videos on my YouTube channel to check that out. Let's talk about multifamily. 2 basis. one is cap rate, right? So obviously you're going to want to know what a cap rate is. So if you don't understand how to run a number for a cap rate, right, which is really just the NOI, right, after you take off a decent expense ratio, you can make sure you include, for any asset, vacancy rate on top of all the normal stuff. Make sure they have a vacancy rate percentage in there. Vacancy rate. Now, again, I use 5% on most asset classes. Now, again, if you're doing a 400 unit apartment complex, it's obviously going to be very different. If you're using a 5-family multifamily, a smaller multifamily, you're obviously going to have maybe a much higher percentage rate depending on the location. So you use 5% for vacancy, 5% for management, and 5% for repairs. You need to have some pretty good baseline there. And if they don't have that included in the expenses that they hand you, you're not going to just put a 0 for vacancy rates. Okay, you have to put it there. You're not going to put a 0 for management just because they don't have a management fee there. One is cap rate. Of course, again, you're going to want to know your market, and we're going to want to make an offer right away at any below what market, or technically above what the market cap rates are. So if cap rates are trading at 6s, you're going to go in at 8.5, right? And see what they say. But guess what? Most investors are probably going to make an offer somewhere in that range. And then the other one is price per unit. So if you know that the average market value per price per unit is $200,000 a unit, and someone says, hey, I want to sell my 10-family multifamily apartment building, I want $250 a door, immediately in your head, you're like, oh, $250 a door, it's a 4 cap. This is probably too expensive. So I'm not going to go to my investor and go, what do you think? I know what they think. We both know what they think. We both think it's expensive. It doesn't make sense to do a deal. And instead of saying, where would you make an offer at? Right? You can assume, you can make assumptions where they would probably make an offer at. Okay, well, probably would make an offer at $175 a door if its market value is $200, maybe $175 a door, and a 7% cap rate day one, or an 8 cap day one, or a 9 cap day one, right? Like, I would probably make an offer there. When I bring a deal to an investor, this is what it sounds like. Hey, John, a tenor, do you have 3 minutes for me? Yeah, I have a few minutes. Okay, fantastic. Do you have a computer or your phone that you can look up a deal with me? Yeah, okay, great. So the property is 123 Main Street. It's a 15-unit apartment building. By the way, if they don't say they're in front of a computer, be like, listen, call me when you have a minute and you're in front of a computer. I want to walk through this deal. This thing's ready to go. Property address is 123 Main Street, 15-unit apartment building. I can get it to you for $170 a door, which is about $2.55 million, which, by the way, I would pre-negotiate all this, and I would know the seller maybe would take 2.3, 2.2, and I'll be like, listen, I already have an offer for 2.5, but I know for a fact that this property could probably sell immediately for 2.8, 2.9, maybe even $3 million. Right now, it's an 8% cap rate, and between you and I, John, the reason why I'm calling you is that, look, the one offer that we have right now at 2.5 million is trying to go seller financing. Seller doesn't want to do seller financing, but I know that if we can get him a straightforward deal at 2.55, maybe even 2.5, we can get a deal done right away. It's an 8% cap rate day one. Cash and cash day one is 8.5%. We already talked to our lender about it. The lender said that we could easily get you a 75% loan to value deal, loan to value on this, and he's ready to go. Underwriting looks spectacular. Check your email box real fast. I just sent you all the financials. Do you see it? Yes. Okay, fantastic. So listen, how fast can you get me an offer on this deal? Right? I'm immediately going to be like, listen, I need an offer. I need an offer as soon as possible. Well, when can I tour? I can get you in today. I can get you in today or tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. What works better for you? Boom. Right? Or tomorrow at 3 p.m. Right? I don't want to do in the morning. But that's it.